What a wounded light being revealed to me about prayer will shatter everything your church taught you about talking to God. Before this story ends, you'll understand why begging for help keeps you trapped in poverty, why the church programmed you to stay powerless, and you'll discover the manifestation method Jesus actually used, the same technique that can transform your financial reality in 30 days. If you've prayed for years without answers, if you've tithed until you couldn't pay your own bills, if you've been told that suffering brings you closer to God while watching religious leaders get rich, subscribe to Stories of Light and turn on notifications, because what happened to Rebecca Torres in Sedona, Arizona will prove that your unanswered prayers weren't God's silence, they were you asking the wrong way. And once you learn the right way, everything changes. Now let me tell you how it all began. April 3rd, 2024, 10:34 p.m. Rebecca Torres sat in her 2003 Toyota Camry outside Canyon Vista Apartments, engine off to save gas, and stared at the eviction notice crumpled in her passenger seat. 72 hours. That's all she had left. At 42 years old, she was a registered nurse with 18 years of experience, working night shifts at Sedona Medical Center. She made $28 an hour, and somehow it still wasn't enough. The divorce 2 years ago had destroyed her financially. David got the house. His parents had co-signed, so legally it was family property. Rebecca got primary custody of Maya and Sophie, the Camry with 195,000 miles and $31,000 of David's credit card debt that her lawyer hadn't protected her from. Medical bills from Maya's emergency appendectomy last year, $8,400 after insurance. Childcare for $2 while working nights, $1,200 monthly. Rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Sedona's inflated market, $1,850. The math didn't work. It had never worked. Rebecca had prayed. God had she prayed. Every morning before her shift, every night when she got home, in her car during lunch breaks. Desperate, tear-soaked prayers, begging God to provide, to help, to show mercy on her daughters who deserved better than this constant fear. The silence was deafening, always. She tilted her head back against the headrest and closed her eyes. I don't understand. I've been faithful my whole life. I've served. I've given. What am I doing wrong? That's when the sky lit up. 3 points of brilliant white light hovered above the red rocks maybe half a mile north. Rebecca's first thought was helicopters, but they moved wrong. Too fast, too fluid, too synchronized. And then they weren't 3 lights. They were 1. It dropped vertically with impossible speed, and the sound hit a second later. Not a crash, but a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through her chest, followed by a flash that turned night into day for 3 full seconds. Then darkness. Complete silence. Rebecca's hands gripped the steering wheel. Her nurse training kicked in before fear could. Someone might be hurt. That was a crash. People could be dying. She started the car. The site was off Airport Road, maybe 60 yards into the desert scrub. Rebecca parked and grabbed her emergency medical kit from the trunk, the one she kept stocked with supplies borrowed from the hospital's surplus. Her flashlight found the craft almost immediately. It was small, maybe the size of a compact car, with a surface that looked almost liquid, shifting colors from silver to blue to something she had no name for. One side was crushed inward, and there was a fissure running along what might have been a seam. Then she saw the being. It had crawled maybe 15 feet from the craft and collapsed against a boulder. Even in the weak flashlight beam, Rebecca could see it was injured, burns along one arm, a dark substance that might have been blood pooling beneath it. The being was small, maybe 4 feet tall, with impossibly long limbs and large eyes that tracked her movement. Rebecca's medical training overrode everything. "Don't move," she said, approaching slowly. "I'm a nurse. I can help." The being's eyes closed briefly, and then Rebecca felt something that wasn't sound, wasn't thought, but somehow existed in her mind. "Thank you." She dropped her medical kit. When she picked it up with shaking hands, she whispered, You're talking. In my head. Yes. I am injured. I need shelter until my body repairs itself. Will you help me? Rebecca looked at this being, this impossible, extraterrestrial being, and thought about her daughters sleeping at her mother's house tonight because Rebecca couldn't afford childcare during her night shift. She thought about the eviction notice. She thought about 42 years of praying to a God who never answered. And she thought, what do I have to lose? My apartment, she said. It's small. I'm about to lose it anyway. But it's private. Ground floor. If you can walk. Yes, with your support, yes. Getting the being to her car took 20 minutes of careful maneuvering. Getting it into her apartment took another 15 minutes of sheer terror, convinced every passing car was government agents. Inside, Rebecca helped the being onto her second-hand couch and turned on the single lamp that still worked. She'd sold the others last month. The being settled with a sound that might have been relief. Rebecca stood in the middle of her living room, looking at an alien on her furniture, and started laughing. Not happy laughter, the kind that comes when reality shatters completely. I'm helping an extraterrestrial, she said to nobody. I can't pay my rent, but sure, why not harbor an alien? The being's large eyes fixed on her, and that presence touched her mind again. Gentler now, warmer. You saved my life tonight. Let me save yours. Save mine? I'm 3 days from homeless. Not anymore. By this time tomorrow, your immediate crisis will be resolved. Not because I will grant a wish, but because I will teach you why your prayers have never worked. And once you understand, everything changes. Rebecca wanted to laugh in its face, but something in those ancient, knowing eyes stopped her. Fine. You want to fix my life? Go ahead, try. God knows nothing else has worked. Then we begin now. But first, tell me, how long have you been praying for help? 2 years. Every single day. And you have been doing it completely wrong.
Rebecca Torres had been a believer her entire life. Raised Catholic in Phoenix, she'd attended Mass every Sunday, completed confirmation at 14, and genuinely believed that God had a plan for her life. She'd met David at a church young adult group when she was 24. He was charming, ambitious, studying to be a physical therapist. They married at 26. Maya was born 2 years later, Sophie 3 years after that. Rebecca worked full-time as a nurse at Phoenix General, led the church women's ministry, volunteered in the children's program, and tithed faithfully, 10% of every paycheck before taxes, just like the Bible said. She'd done everything right. The marriage started cracking 5 years in. David became distant, critical, controlling about money. Rebecca prayed harder. The church counselor told her to submit more and pray for her husband's heart to soften. She tried. For years, she tried. At 40, she found the emails. David had been having an affair with a client for 3 years. When confronted, he didn't apologize. He blamed Rebecca for letting herself go after the kids, for working too much, for not being fun anymore. The divorce was brutal. David's lawyer was aggressive. Rebecca couldn't afford proper representation. She walked away with custody of the girls, the old Camry, and half of David's debt. But the worst part wasn't the financial devastation. It was the church's response. Father Miguel had sat across from her in his office and said words that still haunted her. Rebecca, marriage is a sacrament. God hates divorce. Have you examined your own heart? Have you asked God what you might have done to push David away? The women's ministry stopped inviting her to events. It might be awkward. Friends from church gradually stopped calling. Someone started a rumor that Rebecca had refused to fulfill her duties as a wife. Within 6 months, Rebecca had lost her husband, her church family, her community, and her faith in a God who apparently cared more about the institution of marriage than the woman being destroyed inside it. The financial collapse came next. David's parents hired an expensive lawyer who ensured David paid minimal child support. Rebecca's $28 an hour nursing salary had to cover rent, utilities, food, gas, childcare, and the debt payments. The math didn't work. It had never worked. She worked every overtime shift available. She sold everything valuable: her grandmother's jewelry, the laptop, the girls' gaming system. She applied for better positions, but without a bachelor's degree, she was passed over repeatedly. And through it all, Rebecca prayed. At first, her prayers were specific. Please help me find a higher-paying job. Please let the rent check clear. Please provide for my daughters. Month after month, year after year, nothing changed. The debt went to collections. The car needed repairs she couldn't afford. Maya needed glasses. Sophie needed therapy after the divorce trauma, $120 per session, even with insurance. By the second year, Rebecca's prayers had changed. God, what am I doing wrong? Is this punishment? Did I sin by divorcing David? Please, just show me what you want from me. The silence was absolute. Late at night, after exhausting 12-hour shifts, Rebecca would sit in her empty living room and feel something darker than depression settling into her bones. Not just despair, a creeping certainty that everything she'd been taught was a lie. All those homilies about God's provision, all those worship songs about He'll make a way when there is no way, all those testimonies from people whose prayers were miraculously answered, none of it had happened for her. Either God wasn't listening or she wasn't worthy of being heard. The church had taught her that suffering built character, that poverty could be holy, that her struggles were refining her faith like gold in fire. But Maya and Sophie were going hungry sometimes. The electricity got shut off last month, and the God Rebecca had served her entire life felt more distant than the stars. 3 months ago, Rebecca had done something she never thought she'd do. She stopped going to Mass entirely. If God wasn't going to show up for her, why keep showing up for Him? She continued going through the motions, getting the girls to school, working her shifts, heating food on a hot plate when the power was off, but the spark that had sustained her through childhood, through marriage, through early motherhood, that bone-deep certainty that she was loved by a divine presence, had finally burned out. At 42 years old, Rebecca Torres had become everything she had once pitied: a divorced single mother working herself to death and still drowning, with 2 daughters learning that no matter how hard you tried, life would crush you anyway. The woman who'd once led women's ministry about God's faithfulness now packed peanut butter sandwiches with tears running down her face. The woman who'd once tithed 10% even when she couldn't afford it now hid from the landlord and prayed, despite everything, that the car would start one more day. The woman who'd once believed faith could move mountains now couldn't even move the mountain of bills on her kitchen counter. And tonight, that woman had found a wounded alien in the desert and brought it home, because at least this was real. At least this being's pain was visible. At least when it asked for help, she could actually provide it. Rebecca Torres didn't believe in God anymore, but she was about to discover that the being on her couch knew more about Jesus than every priest who'd ever failed her. Rebecca examined the being's injuries with her nurse's eye. The burns along its arm were severe but not life-threatening. The dark fluid beneath it had stopped flowing. Apparently, their biology clotted quickly. "I can clean these wounds," she said, "but I don't know if human antibiotics work on whatever you are. My body will heal itself given time and safety, but there is something you can provide that accelerates healing." "What? Medication? Equipment?" "Compassion. Genuine caring. These generate frequency patterns that support cellular repair." Rebecca paused,
gauze in hand. You're telling me that being nice to you will literally heal you faster? Yes. Your species calls it love, caring energy, compassion. It is actual force, measurable and powerful. The one you call Jesus was master of this technology. The name hit Rebecca like a slap. Don't talk to me about Jesus. You were a believer once. Yeah, and look where that got me. She gestured around the sparse apartment. I prayed, I believed, I served, and God let my life fall apart anyway. What if everything you were taught about prayer was wrong? What if your prayers weren't answered because you were taught to pray from lack, which only creates more lack? What if the church kept you poor deliberately because poverty makes people controllable? Rebecca stopped cleaning the wound. You're saying I'm poor because I prayed wrong? I am saying you were programmed to be poor, and I can show you how to break that programming. Tomorrow morning, your rent crisis will resolve itself. Not because I am granting wishes, but because I will help you shift your energetic frequency from desperation to receptivity. That's insane. Watch what happens. By this time tomorrow, you will have the money you need, and then you will listen to what I have to teach about the real Jesus, not the one your church sold you. Rebecca wanted to argue, but exhaustion won. Fine. You fix my rent problem, I'll listen to your Jesus theories. The being's eyes glowed slightly. My name is Zira, and it is already done. The next morning, Rebecca woke to her phone buzzing. Email from Sedona Medical Center Administration. Rebecca, due to staffing shortages, we're offering emergency overtime shifts this weekend at double pay. Saturday and Sunday night, 12 hours each. Please confirm availability. 24 hours at $56 per hour equals $1,344. Then a text from her mother. Becky, your Aunt Carmen feels terrible about losing touch. She wants to help with the girls. Is $500 okay for this month? $1,344 plus $500 equals $1,844. Her rent was $1,850. Rebecca stared at her phone, then at Zira resting on her couch. How did you? It did nothing. I helped you shift your energetic frequency while you slept. Your consciousness stopped broadcasting desperation and began broadcasting receptivity. The universe responded. This is not magic. This is physics. That's $6 short. Her phone buzzed again. Venmo notification, $20 from her coworker Jenny. Message, for covering my shift last month. Sorry for the delay. $1,864. $14 more than she needed. Rebecca sat down heavily on the floor. This is impossible. This is how reality works when you understand the laws Jesus taught. And now you will listen. That evening, after her shift, Rebecca sat across from Zira in her dimly lit living room. Talk, she said. Explain why everything I've believed is wrong. You have prayed for 2 years, begging God for help, asking, pleading, crying out for rescue. Yes? Every single night. And in doing so, you perpetuated your poverty. You prayed from frequency of lack. Every prayer that says, I don't have enough, please give me, broadcast to universe, I am person who lacks. Universe, which responds to vibration, gives you more experiences of lack. This is law. Rebecca felt anger rising. So it's my fault I'm poor? Not fault, programming. You were taught to pray as if God is external judge deciding your worthiness. That is not how Jesus taught prayer. Jesus taught, "Give us this day our daily bread." That's literally asking for provision. Notice the frequency of that prayer. It does not say, "I don't have bread, I'm desperate, I'm unworthy, but please help." It says, "Give us this day our daily bread." Present tense, expectant, certain. It is declaration of trust in provision, not desperate plea from poverty consciousness. Rebecca's head spun. This sounds like prosperity gospel. Name it and claim it. Those megachurch pastors manipulating people. Prosperity gospel is distortion of truth, yes. It teaches wealth proves God's favor and poverty proves sin. Both are lies designed to extract money from believers. But beneath distortion is real truth. Consciousness creates reality. Jesus understood this completely. Zira's eyes held Rebecca's with ancient intensity. That is why he said, "Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours." Past tense, already done. Not hope you will receive someday if you're good enough. Not beg and maybe God will consider. But believe you have received it, already, now, complete. Believe you have received it before it shows up physically. Exactly, because in realm of consciousness, where all creation actually occurs, the moment you hold clear intention with elevated emotion, it is done. Physical reality simply takes time to catch up to energetic reality. Rebecca looked at her phone, at the 3 messages that had appeared within hours of waking, totaling exactly what she needed plus $14. This morning, you shifted frequency while you slept. I helped clear some programming blocks. Your consciousness began broadcasting different signal, not desperation, but receptivity. And universe responded immediately. This is how manifestation actually works. But I didn't do anything, I just woke up. Your consciousness did everything. For first time in 2 years, you went to sleep without that clenched, desperate energy of, "I don't have enough." You went to sleep with small seed of hope that maybe, possibly, there was another way. That tiny shift was enough. Rebecca felt tears starting. Are you saying all these years of suffering, all the times Maya went hungry, all the nights I couldn't sleep because of fear, I created all of that? You did not create it consciously. You were programmed to create it. There is a difference. You were taught from birth that you are powerless, unworthy, sinful, dependent on external salvation. You were taught to pray from your knees in submission rather than from your power in co-creation. You were taught suffering brings you closer to God rather than understanding that God wants you to thrive. Every single teaching was designed consciously or unconsciously to keep you small, dependent, and controllable. And it worked. Until now. Until now, Rebecca repeated quietly. Until you met me, until you saved my life, and I could repay debt by showing you truth that your churches have hidden for 2,000 years. Truth that Jesus tried to teach, but was crucified for threatening religious and political power structures. What truth? That you are not powerless sinner waiting for external salvation. You are divine consciousness having temporary human experience. You are creator, not victim. You are powerful beyond measure. And everything Jesus did, healing, manifestation, transformation, you can do too. Because he came not to be worshipped as exception, but to demonstrate what all humans can become. Rebecca sat in silence, feeling something fundamental shifting inside her chest. A wall she'd built around her heart, built from years of unanswered prayers and religious shame, was beginning to crack. I want to believe you, she whispered,
but it sounds too good to be true. Then let me prove it to you. Over the next 3 days, I will show you 5 demonstrations, 5 proofs that these principles are real. And if you still doubt after seeing evidence, then you can return to your old understanding. Fair? Rebecca took a shaky breath. Fair. Then we begin tomorrow.
Over the next 48 hours, as Zira healed and Rebecca processed what she was being taught, 7 waves of resistance crashed through her consciousness. Zira met each one with patient clarity. Rebecca paced her apartment after her shift. Maybe I'm having a breakdown. The stress, the divorce, the money. Maybe I finally snapped? Maybe you're a hallucination. Look at your bank account. The $1,864 that appeared. Is that hallucination? That could be coincidence. 3 random opportunities that just happened to appear the same morning. Rebecca, you are a nurse. You understand probability. What are odds of 3 separate financial opportunities totaling exactly your rent appearing within hours of your consciousness shifting? I don't know. Astronomical. Your mind is trying to protect itself from information that challenges your entire worldview. This is normal human response. But the evidence is real. I am real. The money is real. And what I am teaching you is real. This is heresy, Rebecca said the next evening, hands shaking. Everything you're teaching contradicts the Bible. It contradicts 2,000 years of church doctrine. Maybe you're demonic. The Bible warns that Satan appears as angel of light. If I were demonic, would I be teaching you to access your own power? Or would I be teaching you to worship me, depend on me, give me your will and autonomy? You're teaching me to empower myself. Yes, demons, to use your framework, seek to enslave, control, create dependency. I am teaching you liberation, self-knowledge, divine authority. I am teaching you exactly what Jesus taught. The kingdom of God is within you. You are God's. You will do greater works than I have done. Does that sound like demonic teaching? No, but... Or does it sound threatening to institutions that have built empires on convincing you that you are powerless without them? Rebecca had no answer. What if I'm wrong? Rebecca whispered, tears streaming. What if I die and stand before God and He judges me for believing this? What if I go to hell for heresy? Rebecca, let me ask you, what kind of God creates you with curiosity, intelligence, and spiritual hunger, then punishes you for seeking truth? What kind of God wants you to suffer in poverty and calls it holy? What kind of God demands you stay in abusive situations because marriage is sacred? A loving God would want you to thrive, to discover your power, to live abundantly. Jesus said, I came that you might have life abundantly. Not suffering, not poverty, not submission to abuse. Life, full, rich, joyful life. If what you're saying is true, Rebecca said, voice breaking, then everything I built my identity on is false. I'm not Rebecca the faithful Catholic. I'm not Rebecca who serves and submits. I'm not Rebecca who suffers nobly. Who am I? You are Rebecca who is waking up. Rebecca who is remembering her power. Rebecca who is becoming what she always had potential to be. But I don't know how to be that person. You are already becoming her. The woman who saved my life despite fear. The woman who is listening despite programming screaming at her to run. The woman who is brave enough to question everything she was taught. That woman is who you really are. I'm angry, Rebecca said, voice shaking with rage. If this is true, I wasted 42 years. 42 years praying wrong. 42 years accepting poverty as God's will. 42 years teaching my daughters they're sinners who need external salvation. I stayed in a dead marriage for years because the church said divorce was sin.
I let them shame me after I finally left. I gave them my money when I couldn't afford food." Her hands clenched into fists. How many opportunities did I miss because I was waiting for God to provide instead of knowing I could create? How many nights did Maya cry herself to sleep because we couldn't afford what she needed, all because I was programmed to be powerless? That anger is valid. Feel it. Let it burn through you. Let it consume the programming. Anger at injustice is powerful fuel for transformation when directed at systems, not at yourself. I'm angry at the church. I'm angry at every priest who kept this truth from me. Most of them don't know. They were programmed too. They teach what they were taught. The system perpetuates itself through sincere people who genuinely believe they're serving God. That's what makes it so effective. I taught Sunday school. For 8 years I taught children they were sinners, that they needed to beg God for forgiveness, that suffering was holy, that they were powerless without Jesus saving them. What did I do to them? You taught them the best truth you had access to at the time. You cannot blame yourself for passing on programming you did not know was programming. But now Maya and Sophie are hearing this. What if I'm damaging them by teaching them something different? Look at them. Rebecca glanced toward the bedroom where her daughters slept peacefully. For the first time in months, Sophie hadn't had nightmares. Children recognize truth more easily than adults. Their programming is less entrenched. They will be fine, better than fine. You're giving them what the church took from you, knowledge of their own divine power. On the third night, Rebecca finally broke completely. David cheated on me for 3 years, and when I found out, what I finally left to protect myself and my daughters, the church blamed me. Father Miguel asked what I had done to push David away. The women's ministry whispered that I must not have been fulfilling my wifely duties. They made me feel like the affair was my fault. I could barely breathe through the tears. I believed them. For 2 years, I believed God was punishing me for failing as a wife. I believed my daughters deserved to grow up in poverty because I hadn't been good enough. I carried that shame every day. The church taught you that your value is determined by whether men want you, that your worthiness is tied to your marital status, that your suffering must be your fault. Not one word of that is true. But I believed it. I let them make me feel worthless. Look at me, Rebecca. She raised her tear-stained face. You are not worthless. You never were. You survived abuse. You protected your children. You worked yourself to exhaustion to provide for them. You did this while carrying programming that told you that you were unworthy. Imagine what you will be capable of when you finally release that lie. Rebecca sobbed harder, but something in her chest, something that had been clenched tight for 2 years, finally began to loosen. I'm so tired of being broken. You are not broken. You never were. You were just taught to believe you were, and now you are unlearning that lie.
Words are easy, Rebecca said the next morning. Show me proof, real, tangible evidence that what you're teaching actually works. I will show you 5 demonstrations, 5 applications of the principles Jesus used. Watch carefully. Zira stood and gestured for Rebecca to sit. I am going to make your biofield visible, the electromagnetic field generated by your consciousness that shapes your physical reality. Zira extended long fingers toward Rebecca's chest, hovering 6 inches away. The air shimmered. Rebecca gasped. She could see it, a faint glow surrounding her body, but with distinct dark areas that looked like holes in the light. What are those dark spots? Energy blocks, crystallized negative beliefs that restrict flow of abundance, health, love. This one, Zira pointed to Rebecca's throat, formed when you stopped speaking truth after the church told you to be quiet about David's affair. This one, pointing to her heart, formed from teachings that you are unworthy unless perfect. This one, pointing to her solar plexus, from decades of believing you are powerless without external authority validating you. Can you remove them? I can show you how to remove them yourself. Over the next 20 minutes, Zira taught Rebecca a breathing technique combined with visualization. With each exhale, Rebecca imagined the dark blocks dissolving like smoke. And somehow, impossible but real, she could feel them breaking apart. By the end, her energy field glowed noticeably brighter. I can feel the difference, Rebecca whispered. I feel lighter. This is why Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." He was speaking about energetic freedom, releasing blocks that keep you trapped. Now we test your newly cleared channels. Think of something small you need, something specific and material. Rebecca thought. Sophie needs new shoes. Her current ones have holes, but decent kids' shoes cost $60 I don't have until next payday. Perfect. Now do something that will feel strange. Thank the universe for providing Sophie's shoes. Say it out loud as if you already have them. But I don't. Your physical reality doesn't have them yet, but in consciousness realm, where creation occurs, the moment you hold clear intention with gratitude, they already exist. Trust the universe to deliver through whatever means makes sense. Rebecca felt ridiculous, but said, "Thank you for providing perfect shoes for Sophie. Thank you for her having everything she needs." Good. Now release attachment. Let go of worrying about how or when. Just trust. 4 hours later, Rebecca was at the grocery store when she ran into another nurse from the hospital, Carmen. "Rebecca, I was going to text you. My niece outgrew a bunch of shoes, barely worn really nice brands. I remembered you have daughters. Want to take a look before I donate them?" In the bag, 3 pairs of shoes, one exactly Sophie's size, her brand, practically new. When Rebecca got home, she set the shoes in front of Zira without speaking. Coincidence? How did... You asked from place of gratitude rather than desperation. Universe responded to your vibration. Always does. This is law. You have chronic pain in your lower back, Zira observed. From years of nursing, lifting patients, bending, standing for 12-hour shifts. Rebecca nodded. I take ibuprofen every day, have for 5 years. Jesus healed through combination of elevated love frequency and clear intention. I will teach you the method, then you will heal yourself. I'll heal myself? Yes, that was Jesus's point. He healed to demonstrate capacity existing in all humans. Now, sit comfortably, close your eyes, and place hands on your lower back. Rebecca followed instructions. Now, instead of thinking, I have pain, please remove it. I want you to feel, really feel, absolute certainty that your back is already healed, perfect, healthy, strong. Can you do that? Rebecca tried. At first it felt fake, but she remembered the rent money appearing, the shoes manifesting. She let herself feel it, a healthy back, no pain, perfect function. Warmth began building under her hands. It spread through her lower back, a tingling sensation that wasn't quite comfortable but wasn't painful either. After maybe 10 minutes, Zira said, "Stand up, move." Rebecca stood cautiously, then bent to touch her toes, something she hadn't been able to do without sharp pain in years. No pain. None. She twisted, bent sideways, did a full range of motion. It's gone! The pain is completely gone! You healed yourself using the same principle Jesus used. Elevated love frequency directed through clear intention automatically reestablishes healthy patterns in the body. You did not need me. You needed to remember your power. Sophie needs therapy, Rebecca said, for anxiety from the divorce. It's $120 per session, once a week. I can't afford it consistently. She's only been 3 times in 6 months. How much would 6 months of weekly therapy cost? Rebecca calculated. 24 sessions,
$2,880? That is your next manifestation practice. But this time, you do it alone. I will not help. You must learn to access this power independently. Over the next 2 days, Rebecca practiced exactly as Zira taught. Morning, 5 minutes feeling gratitude for Sophie receiving perfect therapy. Throughout day, catching worried thoughts and replacing them with certainty. Evening, visualization of Sophie thriving, healed, happy. She didn't beg, didn't plead, just aligned her consciousness with the desired outcome and trusted. On day 3, Rebecca received a call from her health insurance company. "Ms. Torres, we're calling about a processing error on your account. It appears we incorrectly denied coverage for your daughter's mental health services. We're correcting that now. You're actually eligible for up to 30 sessions per year with just a $20 copay. We're also issuing a refund for the 3 sessions you paid out of pocket. You should see $360 credited to your account within 5 business days." Rebecca had to sit down. 30 sessions at $20 equals $600 instead of $3,600. Plus $360 refund. Total savings, $3,360. When she told Zira, the being's eyes glowed with something that might have been pride. "You did that. Not me, not luck. You. Your consciousness created that reality by aligning with desired outcome and maintaining elevated frequency. This is what Jesus meant by, according to your faith, it is done unto you." Your faith, your certainty, creates your reality. "One final demonstration," Zira said. "This one will show you that consciousness transcends space." "What do you mean?" "Your mother has chronic pain in her hip, arthritis. She has suffered for 3 years, yes?" Rebecca's eyes widened. "How do you know that?" "I can perceive energy patterns in those connected to you. Her pain signature is visible in your field. You carry emotional distress about her suffering. Would you like to help her?" "Of course, but she's in Phoenix, 2 hours away." Distance is irrelevant to consciousness. Jesus sent healing across distances constantly. Physical proximity is not required. Tonight, while she sleeps, you will send healing to her. I will guide you. That night, Zira had Rebecca hold a photo of her mother. Rebecca closed her eyes and followed instructions. Visualize her mother surrounded by golden light. See her hip glowing with healing energy. Feel absolute certainty that she is healthy and pain-free. Rebecca maintained this for 15 minutes, tears streaming down her face as she felt love flooding through her chest and down her arms. The next morning, her mother called. "Becky, the strangest thing happened. I woke up this morning and my hip doesn't hurt at all. For the first time in 3 years, I can walk without limping. I don't understand it." Rebecca was crying. "Mom, I sent you healing last night. I know that sounds crazy, but..." "You did? How?" "It's a long story. But Mom, I'm learning things about prayer, about healing, about abilities we all have. And it's real. I just proved it." Her mother was silent for a moment. "Whatever you did, it worked. Thank you, Mija." After hanging up, Rebecca looked at Zira with tears still streaming. "I healed my mother from 2 hours away. I actually did that. You accessed the same principles Jesus used. Distance healing, instantaneous healing, impossible healing, all possible when you understand that consciousness, not physical proximity, is what creates change. You are beginning to remember what you have always been capable of. I'm not powerless. You never were. You were just taught to believe you were, and now you are unlearning that lie and remembering your truth. That night, Rebecca finally asked the question that had been building. Tell me about Jesus, the real Jesus, not the one the church sold me. Zira's eyes held infinite compassion. Are you ready? Because what I share will dismantle everything you were taught. I'm ready. Jesus of Nazareth was starseed, advanced consciousness from higher dimensions who incarnated to demonstrate human potential. His body was human, born to Mary, but his soul came from what you call the Pleiadian star system. He volunteered to take human form to show humanity what they can become. So he wasn't God's only son? He was no more God's son than you are God's daughter. That is the point. When he said, I and the Father are one, he was revealing truth about all consciousness, not claiming exclusivity. Every being is divine expression of Source. Jesus came to demonstrate this, not to be worshipped as exception. Every miracle was consciousness technology. Healing, Jesus perceived energy patterns causing illness and directed love frequency to realign them, exactly as I showed you. Multiplication of food, molecular reorganization through focused intention. Matter is condensed energy responding to consciousness. Weather control, his peaceful vibration and trained chaotic storm patterns to match his frequency. Resurrection, conscious withdrawal and reintegration of awareness, proving consciousness transcends physical form. Why doesn't everyone know this? Because empowered people don't need institutions to intercede with God. They don't pay tithes for salvation. They don't submit to religious authority that claims to speak for God. Jesus taught specific method. Step 1, feel as if already received, not hope, but certainty. Step 2, elevate emotion, gratitude, not desperation. Step 3, release attachment to how it manifests. Step 4, maintain frequency consistently. Jesus gave thanks before bread multiplied because energetically it was already done. Physical reality just needed time to catch up to energetic reality. After Jesus died, Church transformed his empowerment teachings into control mechanisms. Original teaching, kingdom within you, became kingdom in heaven accessed through Church. Original, you'll do greater works, became only Jesus could do miracles. Original, your faith heals you, became God heals if worthy. Why? People who know their divine nature don't need intermediaries. Church built empire on keeping humanity ignorant of their power. Rebecca felt rage and liberation simultaneously. So for 2,000 years, billions have suffered in poverty, died in fear, accepted abuse, all while believing they were powerless, all because institutions chose control over truth. Jesus said, I will return. His return isn't him descending from sky. It's collective awakening happening now. Seeds he planted 2,000 years ago are germinating. When enough humans remember their power, approximately 144,000, creating resonance effect, species transitions to fifth-dimensional consciousness. Next 20 years are critical window. I matter to this? Your early awakener, your transformation demonstrates what's possible. Others will notice. Ask. You'll teach through being, not preaching. Each person who awakens makes it easier for the next. This is how consciousness evolution spreads.
Over the next 4 weeks, Rebecca's life transformed completely. Week 1. Practice new prayer method daily. More financial opportunities appeared, overtime shift, Unexpected $340 tax refund. David voluntarily increased child support by $200 a month. Week 2. Chronic back pain never returned. Maya's anxiety resolved without medication. Rebecca used healing technique nightly. Sophie's grades improved dramatically. Week 3. New job offer. Sedona Wellness Center. $38 per hour. Day shift. Better benefits. Holistic healthcare environment. Week 4. Zira's injuries healed completely. Time to leave. "I don't want you to go," Rebecca said, tears in her eyes. "You don't need me anymore. You have direct connection to same consciousness that guided Jesus. Live these truths. Your transformation will inspire others. That is your mission." Rebecca watched Zira's ship lift silently into the Arizona night sky, hover for a moment over the red rocks, then accelerate upward until it was indistinguishable from the stars. She stood in the desert for a long time, not feeling loss, but completion. This chapter was ending. A new one was beginning. Rebecca's life was unrecognizable. New job, $38 per hour, day shift, home with daughters every evening. Finances, emergency fund, $1,800. All bills current, no collections calls. Health, pain-free, highest energy levels in a decade. Relationships, Maya and Sophie thriving, Rebecca's mother reconciled, new authentic friendships forming. But the deepest change was internal. For the first time in 42 years, Rebecca felt at peace. Not because everything was perfect. Challenges still arose. But she understood challenges were curriculum, not punishment. She understood she was powerful. Rebecca started hosting weekly awakening circles, teaching others what Zira taught her. Within 2 months, 20 people attended regularly, each transformed. Each transformation inspired others. This was her mission, not preaching, not converting, simply being the living proof that awakened consciousness creates transformed reality.
Rebecca's journey revealed something you may have suspected, but never had courage to embrace. You have more power than you were taught. Much more. The churches, the religions, the institutions that claim to speak for God, they've kept you small. Not necessarily from malice, but from their own fear. Fear that if you knew your true nature, you wouldn't need them anymore. And they're right. Jesus didn't come to create dependency. He came to demonstrate what every human can become. The kingdom of God is within you. He meant it literally. You will do greater works than I have done, he stated fact. When he performed miracles, he showed you what you can do when you remember who you are. You are not powerless sinner waiting for external salvation. You are divine consciousness, having temporary human experience. You are fragment of source, experiencing itself through your unique perspective. The abilities Jesus demonstrated, healing, manifestation, transformation, these are your birthright, not because you're special, because you're human. For years, maybe decades, you've been praying from your knees, begging, pleading, asking God to please, please help you because you don't have enough. You're not enough. You're unworthy, but maybe if you're good enough, faithful enough, if you just pray harder, and nothing changed. Or worse, things got harder. You tithed until you couldn't pay your own bills, believing that giving to God would unlock blessings. But the blessings went to the megachurch pastor buying his third mansion while you struggled to feed your children. You stayed in toxic relationships because the church said God hates divorce and suffering was somehow holy. You worked yourself to exhaustion while being told that poverty brings you closer to God, that the meek shall inherit the earth later, after you're dead, not now when you actually need help. Here's what they didn't tell you. Every time you prayed from lack, you created more lack. Every time you begged from a place of "I don't have enough," the universe, which responds to your vibration, not your words, gave you more experiences of not having enough. This isn't your fault. This is programming. You were taught to pray as a powerless victim, asking an external authority for permission to have good things. But that's not how Jesus taught prayer. When Jesus said, "Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours," he was teaching manifestation technology. Past tense, already done. Not hope you'll receive it someday, not beg and maybe God will consider it, but have received it, certainty, completion, done. He gave thanks before the bread multiplied because he understood that in the realm of consciousness, where all creation actually occurs, it was already complete. Physical reality just needed time to catch up. This is the secret they've hidden from you for 2,000 years. Think about it. What happens if you discover you can heal yourself? You stop tithing for healing prayers. What happens if you learn you can manifest abundance? You stop giving your last dollar to the church while your own family goes without. What happens if you realize you're divine and don't need intermediaries to access God? The entire religious industrial complex collapses. So they taught you the opposite. They taught you that you're fundamentally broken, sinful, unworthy, that only through the church, through the priests, through the rituals and the rules and the endless guilt could you maybe, possibly, if you're lucky, get close to God. And generation after generation believed it because it came from people who seemed to have authority, because questioning it felt like questioning God himself, because the alternative, that you're powerful beyond measure, seemed too arrogant, too dangerous, too impossible. But Rebecca proved it's not impossible. In 30 days, her entire life transformed. Not because an alien granted wishes, but because she learned to shift her consciousness from victim to creator, from beggar to manifester, from powerless to powerful. And if she can do it while working 3 jobs, raising 2 daughters alone, and drowning in debt, you can too. When you finally understand these principles and start applying them, everything changes. Your prayers shift from "Please God help me, I'm desperate" to "Thank you for the abundance flowing into my life now." Your energy shifts from scarcity to receptivity, and the universe responds, not because you're special, because that's how the law works. Money appears not from nowhere, but through unexpected opportunities, connections, refunds, offers, pathways you couldn't have orchestrated consciously, but your elevated consciousness attracted naturally. Health improves not through miracles, but through your body's innate healing capacity activating when you stop flooding it with stress hormones from constant fear and lack. Relationships heal, not because people suddenly change, but because you stop vibrating at the frequency of victim and betrayal, and you start attracting interactions that match your new empowered state. This isn't wishful thinking. This is physics. Consciousness creates reality. Jesus knew it. Zira knew it. And now you know it too. The question is, will you apply it?
You can close this video and return to the illusion that you're powerless, that life happens to you, that God is distant, judge, evaluating worthiness. That's safe. That's familiar. That's what everyone around you believes. Or you can do what Rebecca did. Start experimenting. Treat prayer as manifestation technology, not desperate supplication. Operate from love frequency and watch reality respond. Awaken to your divine nature. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. But understand this, if you choose to stay asleep, you're not just choosing for yourself, you're choosing for your children, who will learn powerlessness from watching you. You're choosing for everyone's life you could have touched once you awakened. Rebecca Torres is now teaching 20 people every week. Those 20 will teach others. The ripple expands.
You could be part of that ripple. Or you can stay on the shore, watching others transform while you remain stuck. Leave a comment. Have you experienced moments where thoughts created reality? Felt connected to something greater? Witnessed inexplicable healings? Prayers answered too perfectly to be coincidence? Share below. You're not alone. Thousands are awakening to the same truths. Your story might help someone else remember who they really are. And when you share, you solidify your own awakening. You speak your truth into existence. You become part of the global shift. If you want more stories challenging everything you thought you knew about Jesus, spirituality, and human potential, subscribe to Stories of Light and turn on notifications. Because Rebecca's transformation isn't unique. Across the planet, people are encountering beings carrying the same message. You are powerful. You are divine. You are not broken. You just forgot. Stories from hospice workers who witnessed dying patients healing completely after releasing religious guilt. Stories from financial advisors who manifested millions after learning these principles. Stories from therapists who healed their own trauma and now teach others. And now it's time to remember. Jesus' return is not him coming from sky to save you. Jesus' return is you awakening to Christ consciousness that has always existed within. You are the second coming, not because you're Jesus, because you're finally becoming who Jesus came to show you that you are. Divine, powerful, unlimited, a creator, not victim, a master, not servant, a God, not sinner. This is the truth that was hidden. This is the truth that sets you free. This is the truth that changes everything. Rebecca Torres was 42 years old, 3 days from homeless, working as a nurse for $28 an hour, drowning in debt, abandoned by her church, convinced God had forsaken her. 30 days later, she had a new job paying $38 an hour, an emergency fund, healed chronic pain, thriving daughters, and unshakable certainty of her own divine power. She didn't get lucky. She didn't win the lottery. She didn't have a rich relative die. She shifted her consciousness, and reality shifted to match. You can do the same, starting today, starting right now. Welcome to your awakening.